I talk a lot about how Turborepo is great for monorepos, making those workflows that you need much faster. But here's a little bit of a secret. You can use it with standalone applications too. And that's exactly what the Node.js team did when they redesigned and rebuilt the Node.js.org website. We can explore the code behind this site and maybe take a look at a use case of Turbo that you may not have thought of before. So first things first, let's just set the stage here. This is just a Next.js app. If I open up this app directory and look in this folder, it's just the app router. It's error, layout, global error, robots like we're used to seeing in the app router. And then additionally, if I open this pages directory, we'll find the pages router. We're used to seeing this as well. But the interesting part is we only have one package JSON, and I said this was a Turborepo. You're used to seeing me talk about a monorepo where there's multiple package JSONs and you have one for each package that's in the repository. We just have one at the root here though. And the thing that you'll still find is Turbo. This is great. We can leverage this. We can make every part of developing and working through CI and getting to production faster with Turbo. The next place that I like to go is into Turbo JSON. I think I'll do some folding here and hop up to the top. We'll see the pipeline key, and this is where it's listed out what's registered to Turbo, what can we run. I've studied this a little bit, but this is essentially the list of tasks that we can run through Turbo. So first thing we got to do is we got to develop the application, right? So if I open my terminal, I see Turbo serve, and I believe it was Storybook just by itself. You'll see that this is running next-dev with -- turbo for TurboPack. And additionally, it's running Storybook dev. I'll have localhost 3000, and Storybook usually comes out on 6006. Perfect. And so let's take a look at, I think there was a button on that homepage. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead. I would think this would be like a components button. Great. It has a story with it. Perfect. So this is where I'm looking for. I think I'm just going to hack the JSX, to be honest, and we'll have a quick background red. And I should see over in my Storybook, that's just that hot mod reloading of Storybook. So now I can see that change. I turn the background red. It looks beautiful. Now, additionally, I can see on 3000, I have the same thing. I turn these buttons red. And so that's really powerful. I get to see the changes that I made across all of the environments, applications, what have you, where I'm concerned with them. I have one atomic commit that I'll get to see all at once. Let's say I'm happy with these changes. Of course I am. I have impeccable taste. Look at this red. It is brilliant. My designers are going to love me. So I want to make sure that my code is going to pass quality checks, for instance. Now I'm in the phase of, okay, am I going to pass lints? Am I going to pass tests? Am I going to pass NCI? So I can check this here pretty quickly. Going back to Turbo JSON, I believe we had maybe some lint scripts here, for instance, that we're going to run. So these tasks, we want to make sure that we're going to pass them. Opening my terminal back up again, we can run those lint tasks. It was lint CSS, lint, there we go. So these are all three of these, and I think I'm actually going to have to throw force at this because I ran these already when I was doing my homework before I hit record. So we're going to see these run, and they're going to be in parallel. These are all three of these tasks running at the same time, so they come back in 30 seconds, nice and quick. That's a lot faster than running npm run lint css and npm run and running all of these serially. This will run lint css first, and then maybe a lint.js next, and then lint.md next. Instead of doing that, we can just run them all at the same time since they don't depend on each other. And since it looks like I'm going to pass here locally, I want to make sure that I'm going to pass out NCI, right? So we might want to take a look at the GitHub workflow here for lint and tests. And look at me, I'm already on the right line. We can see here that if I buy a little extra space, this is a GitHub action workflow that is running a Turbo lint JS MD CSS like I was just running here locally. So that's really convenient. We have that one mental model of our Turborepo that we can use both locally and out in CI. Same tasks, we're just going to run them in different places. Now, something to note here is that the local cache that's on my machine here when I was running these tests, this is local to my machine. So if I go ahead and run these tasks again, I am going to hit cache. I'm going to get a full turbo. But when we run these out in CI, they don't know about that cache. These are separate machines. This is just on my file system, that full turbo cache that I just hit. The GitHub action doesn't know about that. However, we can use the remote cache. Remote caching will make everything multiplayer. All of those turbo tasks are going to get shared to CI on these local dev machines, to my teammates even. We can all use that same cache, and we'll have a powerful system where that one shared cache, that remote cache, can report to everyone. And if that task has been ran again, we're never going to do it again. We'll just restore its results from cache. So to enable this, all I have to do is, well, let me open up my terminal and turbo link. This will ask me, hey, remote caching shares that cache across Turborepo, just like I was mentioning. And all I have to do is hit yes, pick my team, and I'm good. Now the cache that's on my machine will go out to that Vercel remote cache and use that. You can also use self-hosted caches, but this is zero config. Additionally, out in GitHub Actions, you can set the credentials for the remote cache as environment variables, and they'll be able to share this remote cache. So we've talked about development time, we've talked about CI time. Last thing we got to do is ship, right? So I'll run turbo build, and I believe it was storybook build. Trying to go from memory here. I'll throw force at this, and you can see the same exact thing. These builds can run in parallel depending on your needs, and we can have the storybook building at the exact same time as that Next.js app building. In reality, I would be probably deploying to Vercel, and Vercel already knows about the remote cache. Again, zero config, don't got to do any work. And I would hit this cache out on my Vercel production build. If you want to get started with a similar setup to what is here in the Node.js.org repo, you can go ahead and use npx create turbo at latest -- example non-monorepo. One small note, if you do go ahead and look at the Node.js.org source code, you might find a monorepo if you're looking in the not too distant future. I'm going to pin the repo link to the commit that we're on today. But if you look at main, again, in the not too distant future, you might find a monorepo. The Node.js team is really interested in embracing everything that Turborepo has to offer. And it's been really cool to see them start that incremental migration to getting the most that they can out of Turborepo with applying it to this single package workspace and then moving from there into a monorepo. So there you go. There's the best kept secret in Turborepo. You can use it in a single package workspace too.